Behind the sentinel was a staircase with 20 steps. Franz and the Count descended these, and found themselves in a mortuary chamber. 5 corridors diverged like the rays of a star, and the walls, dug into niches, which were arranged one above the other in shapes of coffins, showed that they were at last in the catacombs. Down one of the corridors, whose extent it was impossible to determine, rays of light were visible. The Count laid his hand on Franz's shoulder. "Would you like to see a camp of bandits in repose?" he inquired. "Exceedingly," replied Franz. "Come with me, then." Peppino put out the torch. Peppino obeyed, and Franz and the Count were in utter darkness, except that 50 paces in advance of them a reddish glare, more evident since Peppino had put out the torch, was visible along the wall. They advanced silently, the Count guiding Franz as if he had the singular faculty of seeing in the dark. Franz himself, however, saw his way more plainly in proportion as he went on towards the light, which served in some manner as a guide. 3 arcades were before them, and the middle one was used as a door. These arcades opened up on one side into the corridor where the Count and Franz were, and on the other into a large square chamber, entirely surrounded by niches similar to those of which we have spoken. In the midst of this chamber were 4 stones, which had formerly served as an altar, as was evident from the cross which still surmounted them. A lamp, placed at the base of a pillar, lighted up with its pale and flickering flame the singular scene which presented itself to the eyes of the 2 visitors concealed in the shadow. A man was seated with his elbow leaning on the column, and was reading with his back turned to the arcades, through the openings of which the newcomers contemplated him. This was the chief of the band, Luigi Vampa. Around him, and in groups, according to their fancy, lying in their mantles, or with their backs against a sort of stone bench, which went all round the columbarium, were to be seen 20 brigands or more, each having his carbine within reach. At the other end, silent, scarcely visible, and like a shadow, was a sentinel, who was walking up and down before a grotto, which was only distinguishable, because in that spot the darkness seemed more dense than elsewhere. I keep waiting for the moment, like in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, when you realize the older of the Sawyer brothers isn't just a general store owner, but actually part of the cannibalistic clan, reveals himself to be such. I keep waiting for that from Dante. And the question that Dante asks Franz here, kind of gave me tingles down my spine. I can't quite articulate why, but I'm going to try because we have a podcast to fill out. That line there, "Would you like to see a camp of bandits in repose?" Now, I'm reading this by myself. I'm not thinking about that line too hard. But the fact that I have to read it out loud, the fact that we are going through this story so slow, the fact that we are talking about performance, our prestige HBO drama that we're putting together, suddenly I'm thinking, how do you say that line? What does that line mean? It's a strange line. And Franz's reply, exceedingly, also strange, because they're going to save Albert. And they're under this weird dual performance with each other of both knowing what each other knows, kind of. I mean, like, I can't imagine at this point there's any question that Franz knows that Dante, the Count, was Sinbad the Sailor on the island of Monte Cristo, and I cannot imagine, Dante being as smart as he seems now, that he doesn't know that Franz knows that. And so all that's left is this thin veil of not acknowledging it with one another. And so they're going down this dangerous road to save Albert. They're in a nest of bandits where they should be quiet and, or at least announcing themselves or whatever the case might be. The fact that you're stopping, and maybe this is coming off of the monologues that Dante gave about his morbid interest in executions and everything he's seen in the world. This line here suddenly takes a new shape to me. Would you like to see a camp of bandits in repose? He's already kind of gone through that conversation with Franz about the executions. Would you like to see an execution? There's nothing quite like it. You don't know a culture until you've seen executions. I mean, I'm putting words in his mouth and paraphrasing, but like Dante and Franz's entire relationship seems to be predicated upon, do you want to see something you've never seen before? Let me give you hashish. I'm going to open up your mind to something you can't imagine. Let me force you to watch an execution. Let me give you privileged position in my windows at the carnival to see a spectacle you've never seen before. Let me provide you opportunity for costume, for carriage, for the opera. Dante is almost Pinhead from Hellraiser in his philosophy of, we have such sights to show you. Then Franz's response, exceedingly. It's almost as if they are now acknowledging the relationship they have to one another. And that Franz, like if we're playing out the scene with actors, I would put a large beat between Dante. I put a beat before Dante asks the question, have him turn to Franz, kind of look him over and do an internal calculation of, are we both on the same page? Are you ready for this? I'm going to offer you a gift. Are you going to accept it? And then saying the line, would you like to see a camp of bandits in repose? And then giving another beat and allowing Franz to do a mental calculation of, what is this guy's game? If I was in any danger, I suppose there have been many opportunities before this. I don't know what it is that he wants from me or to show me or why, but clearly it's for some greater purpose. And I not only don't have a chance to decline it in this moment, but what would happen if I lean in? This is almost, it feels like Dante dropping the facade for a second to Franz's obsession, his fascination with trying to get to the bottom of who Dante is. And Dante isn't saying, would you like to see a camp of bandits in repose? He's saying, would you like greater insight into this thing you're obsessed with? And Franz is saying, yes, this is the moment where he's doubling down on getting answers about Dante. I might be reading way too much into that, but it just seems so kind of out of place, these two lines. Like, you can take those out and just have them continue into the land of the bandits, the landits, if you will, because so much up to now has been procedural. Why would you stop the procedure with a line like that comes out of nowhere? It also kind of tips Dante's hand a bit, who's been like a bit coy with his relationship to Vampa. How does he know that the bandits are in repose? How does he know that if they turn out the torch, what they're going to see when they come upon them, unless he has firsthand experience? I don't know. I feel like this might be a turning point. A very subtle one, but one indeed, where the wall starts to come down between Dante and Franz. But there's only one way to find out. You know I say that a lot. And you know what the answer is. It's to join me here tomorrow with a little bit more of Chapter 37. So until then, okay, goodbye. The Countdown of Monte Cristo is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. This show is produced, edited, and hosted by Landon Solano. The original text of The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. Theme song by Magic Solo. If you want to support the show and others like it, visit patreon.com/gruntworkpod. Thank you for listening. See you tomorrow.